Hari Om. Let us begin. सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Let us chant the shlokas. Repeat after me. कर्तुराज्ञया प्राप्यते फलम् प्राप्यते फलम् कर्म किं परं कर्म तज्जडम्। कृतिमहो ददौ पतनकारणम् पतनकारणं फलमशाश्वतं गतिनिरोधकम्। ईश्वरार्पितं नेच्छया कृतं चित्तशोधकं मुक्तिसाधकम्। कायवाङ्मन कार्यमुत्तमम् कार्यमुत्तमं पूजनं जपश्चिन्तनं क्रमात् पूजनं जपश्चिन्तनं क्रमात्. The first three shlokas of this beautiful composition covers the bhakti yoga, karma yoga. So the karma yoga siddhanta is very, very simplified here. Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam. There are 4 words, and did you all get to know what context of Sanskrit grammar is that? Yes. Second case. Must be pretty easy, straightforward. And with 4 simple words, he has explained the entire karma yoga. In fact, each word can be further dwelled upon in such details that each one can be spent about an hour or 2, each word to understand. But that is for your contemplation. So you do the contemplation. We have already introduced you to the various points. Ishwararpitam, offer it unto the Supreme. Nechaya kritam, do it selflessly. Thus when performed, chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam. Thus when the actions are performed and layers of vasanas are cleaned thus thereby, one achieves peace within. Meaning there is no instant fix for peace. Even after years of coming to Chinmaya Mission, Swamiji, my mind is, it will be like that only. Because you are putting in the efforts, expecting to clean up all those patterns which have been laid in for lives together. So it will take time. Do not lose your heart, do not let the intensity reduce. Constantly work at it, whatever it takes. So whether you are studying, whether you are working, whether you have children, whether you are, whatever be the role, that would become the secondary priority. The first priority would be to constantly work with this attitude of offering to the divine and doing it selflessly. So you would not comment, having read this Vedanta, when will I get a break? Ask yourself, what kind of break do you want? Because with this path of sadhana, it can become very dry. Life can become very insipid, tasteless. You're constantly doing and doing and doing, and there seems to be so many layers after layers coming, and you're constantly cleaning. When do I get a break? When do I get some peaceful moment for myself? The faster you clean, the intensity with which you clean, the sooner you will reach. And the process of sadhana, when given by the Guru, do not take it lightly. There was one Mahatma, a very well-renowned Mahatma in Vrindavan. I had not had the opportunity to meet him, but his successor, equally great, I had an opportunity to meet him. He joined when he was probably 15, 16 years old, the ashram, and he was not very well educated or high scholastic approach, nothing. He said, Mahatma ji, मैं आ गया हूँ, जो करने बोलो. I have come here, whatever you say, I surrender completely. The Mahatma ji gave him a job of not even a cook, but cook's help. Therefore, next 30 years, all that he did was clean up rice, cut vegetables, and make sure that the kitchen facility is clean. That's all he did. In the last days of this Mahatma, people thought that the next successor will be announced, and there were a lot of politics, and the location doesn't leave anybody. So even the sannyasis who were there, the monks who were there, they were also almost like quarreling with each other, and undercurrents were strong. And on the day that he was to pass away, he calls everybody and he says that my successor would be the boy who had come to help in the kitchen. He would be my successor. People had like a jaw drop, and of all the people, him? He does not know Sanskrit, he does not know singing, he does not know pravachan, he does not know administration. So he said he may not know all these things, but one thing for sure that he has grown is, as much as he focused on cleaning outside, and not once in these 30 years there was a wavering thought in his head, why am I stuck here? Everybody else is progressing that fast. Everybody is learning these many things. Why am I stuck here? Not once the thought passed his head. And because of that external cleaning, his internal also is so cleaned that I have seen him in samadhi while cleaning rice, while cutting vegetables. So when the intensity of your dedication, when you dedicate it with that intensity, you can clean everything from within. That Sharanagati, hold on to it. So to develop that bhakti through karma is the next step which we have just chanted. So from the fourth shloka, it starts with the bhakti marga. Very beautifully indicated, the bhakti marga. Very logically, sequentially given. Kaya vang manaha karyam uttamam. Pujanam japaha chintanam kramat. 3 equipments are enlisted here and 3 processes are given. So whatever shloka that we do, we have to submit the notes on it. At least 10 sentences on each shloka, right? So don't ask me again group texting and emails, and it's a standard. So go ahead. Oh, it was 5 sentences? Okay, my bad. 5 sentences. Meet me later. You. Kaya, Vang, Manaha. What are the 3 equipments? Physical body, organs of perception, action put together. Vak, Vak, speech. Manaha, mind. Kaya, Vak, Manaha. Karyam Uttamam. From the grosser to the subtler, when you look at it, the activities grow subtler. So what is the grossest? Physical body. Next is the speech. Subtler than that is the mind. Karyam Uttamam. Sequentially, it gets subtler and subtler. And what are the methods? With the physical body, perform puja. So for all of you sitting here and those watching, question for you. You already started shaking your heads. You know the question, right? At a physical level, puja is as much required as much as taking a shower. Do you take shower daily? At least twice? Thank you. Puja should be given that kind of importance. See, what happens when we start learning lot of symbolism? Because of the symbolism, the value of puja gets diluted. It's the ideal which is represented through the murti, that you are focusing your mind through this murti to that ultimate. Okay, come back, where are you? That is the goal. But through that physical puja, you are training the entire equipment. For that 20 minutes, or you have been taught those 16 steps. How much time does it take to do those 16 steps? Sahasra Sirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva Atyatishta Dashangulam. Whoever is your god or goddess, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Dhyayami Dhyanam Samarpayami. You've been taught that process. You are not looking at me without a blink and like staring at me. When was that done? Swamiji, are you sure? Was it with the YUP course? Don't confuse me now. You were taught, right? So that puja has to be performed. What does it do? First benefit, sitting through for those 20 minutes without movement, the body is tied in to one position. Organs of action are dedicated to that Lord in front of you. Organs of perception are dedicated to that Lord in front of you. So when you perform that puja, be little gentle. I see sometimes people throwing flowers at God. We did this some time ago. I said, how painful it is to go through such kind of puja if you were God. So I had 6-7 people sit. They had flowers, akshata, everything. Went through all the 16 steps. I said, be liberal. However you are doing, just continue with that. And they're like, it hurts. And those you both got married, right? During the wedding, those akshata being thrown at you. Does it hurt? After once okay, twice okay, everybody throwing at you. So you do the puja with the intensity that the Lord is right in front of you. So the organs of perception, organs of action, mind, everything is involved into that one single point. Pujanam. With the speech, do the japa. Are you doing the japa? See, whatever stated here, don't give me that look, because you have been initiated, you have been introduced into that process. Once at least the japa sitting, and once at least with the likhita japa or writing. So do the japa process. Chintanam, contemplation. Take a shloka, take a verse, take a mantra from Upanishad. You have various Upanishads. At least start with the Kaivalya Upanishad that you have been introduced to. You have been introduced to the entire essence of Upanishads. So there are various mantras that you have been introduced. So take one mantra. Say for example, na karmana na prajaya dhane na tyage naike amritattva manashuhu parena nakam nihitam guhayam vibhrajate datyatayo vishanti. Sit down. See, memorizing all these mantras helps, because you don't need to search for where did I keep my book. It's all up here. That's a true upload. The other day thought went through my head. I said, memorizing the shlokas, what benefit does it give? I said, it is your Alzheimer's insurance. You're constantly keeping that mind in a new track and developing, training it to be fresh. So learn every day. One mantra, learn it and contemplate on it. Na karmana, na prajaya, dhanena. So the lokeshana, vitteshana, putreshana, what do they mean? And through these things you can never find that peace or supreme within. So what do you find it with? Tyage na eke amritattva manashuhu. Through that tyaga alone. What does tyaga mean? What does, is it sacrifice? What does tyaga mean? Renounce. What does renunciation mean? What is the difference between renunciation and sacrificing? What does it mean when you are giving up something? What does it mean when you say that you are renouncing it? What is the attitude behind it? Understand it, thoroughly, contemplate on it. So puja, japa, chintana, kramat. Kramat in this sequence. So start with puja. After puja, do your japa. Then do your chintana. In fact, my regular schedule starts with first I go out and do my running, grossest. After running, I come back, take shower, sit down, perform my puja to my Ishtadeva. So after the puja is done, then I meticulously sit down and move the beads. So I do my 108 times. And if you think that your mantra is long, try competing with me. Do you know the mantra that I use? Hanuman Chalisa. Because once Guruji never initiates anybody into mantra or anything. He said, whoever is a god, take mantras. He'll give 10-15 mantras. He said, pick one of them. But this person was insisting that you should give me a mantra. You should pick a mantra. So Guru said, okay. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. He gave that Mahamantra. After 2 weeks, I happened to be on both times. When this individual had asked Guruji. So after 2 weeks, this person comes and he says, so your mantra jo hai na bahut lamba hai. It is too long. You asked me to do 108 times, and by the time it's really testing my patience. Can I get a smaller mantra? Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Done. And here like Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Each mantra is taking long. It is not the mantra's length. It is with what intensity that you perform that japa. So after japa, then I sit down for dhyana or chintana. The same sequence. At least I have been doing it without a break for about 21 years now. Once this lady went to Gurudev and said, Swamiji, my husband is following you for 13-14 years, but I don't think it is helping. What good are you doing to society anyway? Gurudev looked at her, what do you mean? My husband has not improved even a bit. So Gurudev in his own enchanting style, he says, still you owe me a thanks. This lady was all wide eyes. Why should I owe you thanks? That if not me, your husband would have been deteriorating into further lower conditions. At least he has been maintained in the same level, that he has not changed either for good or for bad. See, that agitative mindset, restless mindset which seeks instant results. That I have been doing this for 3 months, there should be some result. It's not result oriented. Let's not get trapped into it. That I need to find that result now. That impatience has to go. And once you start with this puja bhavana, that Lord is in front of you, how do you expand on that puja? That is given in the next verse. Jagata ishadhi yukta sevanam ashtamurti bhra deva pujanam. What happened to the voice or sound? Let's try it again. Jagata Ishadhi Yukta Sevanam. Better. Ashtamurti Bhrat Deva Pujanam. If the puja that you begin or the bhakti that you invoke is limited to that space and time, meaning you are a bhakta, you are a devotee, as long as you are sitting in front of that God. The moment you get out of that puja, the original self comes out. The rough-edged individuality takes its ugly hood. That all that bhakti is lost. And people also say, you may have heard it in different ways, when they say that for me, church and business are two separate things. I don't mix them. Meaning for me, spirituality or any such spiritual process and my day-to-day business are two different things. When I am in front of the Lord, I am a devotee. When I am getting to business, I am cutthroat businessman. They are two different, separate. If that is the attitude, stop doing puja. Because what will people say? People will start concluding that he does so much puja and yet he is like this. I am way better than him without doing puja. People who can conclude things in various ways. This is one of the ways. I have seen people who dedicate 3-4 hours to their morning puja and their personal life is such a chaos. Because this devotion, the sweetness of devotion does not transcend beyond the limits of that time and space. That 20-30 minutes you spend, there is that sweetness, you bask in that sweetness, and after it is done, it's like that ugly hood comes out. Let me bash up the world around. If that is the attitude, then there is something wrong in the bhakti itself. That attitude has to change. How will it change? When we look at the world around and go to its essential standpoint, whatever you are interacting with, what is the essential standpoint of that which you are interacting with? That it is expressing divinity as existence. Its very presence, its being is expressing the existential reality. That existential reality which you are worshipping on the seat of puja is what is expressing in and through the world around. How do you handle, how do you deal, how do you interact with the world around you? See, in our culture, in our tradition, it is taught that the book or the paper is verily the expression of goddess Saraswati. Sometimes when I go to the universities, it's a heart-wrenching experience because usually they invite everybody and they bring in their backpacks, and the backpack is right in front of them and their feet are on the backpack. And if the book, they may have brought in book and there is another books and backpack, and the book is lying there, somebody wants that big book, they would not bend down to pick it up. With their foot, they will push it. So just to save myself, I tell them that in the culture that I am born, it is considered as disrespect. It would distract me less if you do not do that, so that I can focus on communicating that for which I have come here. If you can help me, please do not step on these books. So we are taught, right? Do not step on books, do not step on papers or folders. The subtle things, simple things. Food, when you eat, before you eat, offer it to the Lord, take it as prasada. Whether it has gone to temple or not, doesn't matter, because that is the existential reality which will be satiating your hunger. In fact, ours is the religion wherein name a kind of thing, we probably worship it in one format or the other. Trees, do we worship? Rivers, do we worship? Stones, do we worship? Mountains, do we worship? Tell me a mountain or two which we worship. Kailash. Yes, that. I like the voice with which the firmness with Kailash. There is this mountain that Lord Krishna had picked up. Govardhan. On his little pinky that he had picked it up, right? So that Govardhan is, people don't step on Govardhan. They go around it. Then Arunachala in Tiruvannamalai, where Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi lived all his life. That is also considered as sacred. The mountains we worship, stones we worship, rivers we worship, trees we worship, animals we worship. Almost every kind of animal is worshipped. Do you know dogs are also worshipped? He is worshipped as the Kala Bhairava. Sometimes in the Dattatreya tradition of worship, Dattatreya has 4 dogs, and those 4 dogs are the Vedas. So dogs are worshipped. Do you know what is the vehicle that is used by Lakshmi Devi? Lord Ganesha's vehicle is little mouse. Yeah. He has to balance himself. I look at it as the skateboard. So the little mouse is a skateboard for him. Lord Shiva's Nandi Bhagwan. Durga Devi's tiger or a lion, depends on the opportunity. What is the vehicle of Lakshmi Devi? What? Ostrich. Swan is Saraswati. Hamsavahini Vidyadayini Varade. It's a song, right? Come on, guys. Alligator is Gangaji. Owl. Owl. So when I was watching the movie Legends of, there's a movie on owls, right? Legend of the Guardians. So I was thinking of always, Lakshmi Devi. She must be riding all these owls. So you have owls being worshipped. Various, even rats are worshipped. So every aspect of this creation is worship worthy. So when we interact with this world, which at its existential standpoint is nothing but that divine expressing, how should our expression be? Can we be careless, callous with anything around us, with anybody around us? And it is our great tradition which has said, Matru Devo Bhava. What does it mean? Mother is God. Pitru Devo Bhava. Father is God. Somebody who just knocks in whom you don't even know. Atithi. Atithi is somebody who has come in who probably you don't even know. There is no date, no time, nothing. He just knocks in. Too bad that in this culture we call them as gate crashers, party crashers, wedding crashers. Is that what we call them? We have a sacred word for them. We are called Atithi. Atithi Narayana Swarupaha. Swayam Bhagavan has come in that form. Acharya Devo Bhava. The teacher is nothing but God. So every person, every being, everything that you interact with, just let us assume that it is all God. Can we be careless with anything in this world? Some of the acharyas and swamis, when you observe, like, I don't know why I am remembering him so much today. This is the third time I am referring to him. You must have seen Swami Sharananandji. He had been here for our Balavihar camps many times. Even when he takes a glass of water, okay, and then take. Irrespective of who it is, you may have seen or remember us both doing a little wrestling. You have not seen it? Oh, it's hilarious. I bend down to catch his feet. Irrespective of who it is, he bends down to catch their feet. So in order to win over him, I tickle him. I cannot be tickled. And he leaves. I catch hold of him firmly. And he was, Uddhavji. When I was Brahma, you're Gunda, you're Gunda. Gunda is a thug. Better than a thug, man. A respectable thug. Done, sounds good. And then once I started growing my beard and all, he said, now you are not a goon, you are not a Gunda anymore, you are a terrorist. I said, Swamiji, don't say it loudly. One of my own gives me away as a terrorist, then I am gone. What bay is it? Guantanamo Bay. Right? There is nobody who will talk to me then. But his attitude towards everything, whether it is a flower, whether it is a plant, whether it is a tree, whether it is a human being. See, it is this very attitude that has gotten so ingrained in our culture that anybody knocking at the door at any time of the day, you may have seen this when you visit India, any time of the day, would you like to have some water? Would you like to have some tea? Chai to pakka pilayenge. You may even scream on the top of your lungs, I don't have a habit of drinking tea. No, one little cup. Thank goodness it is a little cup only. It is not like buckets and mugs of our culture here. It's a little cup and they'll give you a little cup. It is something to eat, something to drink. The attitude or the idea behind it is God who has come and it is my opportunity to serve Him. Jagata Ishadhi, the entire Jagat, entire universe is permeated by that Paramatma which is worthy of Sevanam, Yukta Sevanam, worship worthy. If you do not remember the entire universe, because it's a huge practice to conviction to build in, at least start with these 8 things. Ashtamurti Bhrit Deva Pujanam. At least expand your horizon to see that God that you worship in a murti in through these 8 elements, 8 things. What are they? 5 elements, Pancha Mahabhuta. What are the 5 elements in the sequential order of gross to subtle? Gross to subtle. Earth, water, fire, air, space. The second attempt we got it. Then the moon, which represents all the terrestrial things. Then is the sun. The sun represents all the constellations. So 5 elements, the sun and the moon. And what is the 8th one? The Jiva, in and through everybody. Every sentient being has a soul, has a Jiva, and that Jiva is dwelling in this complex. This body is nothing but a temple in which that Jiva is existing. Have you gone to these South Indian temples? Scared going into the temple? Which temple did you go? Oh, it can be scary in Kerala, right? The traditional temples, I am thinking she must have gone to Chota Nikara. It can be scary. Even now when I go, I get scared in Chota Nikara. So in the traditional temple, the temple structure, the way it is built, there are 5 layers. They call Gopuram. So you cross the Gopura and go inside. There are 5 such that you cross. The 5th one is the Sanctum Sanctorum, where the Lord is placed. The outermost is the body sheath. The next one is the prana, vital air. The next one is the mind. The next one is intellect. The main temple structure inside is the Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss sheath. And in that bliss sheath is God existing right in the middle. So the temple is also constructed and designed with this perspective. So in every such temple, who is it that is indwelling? That Jiva is nothing but, that reflected consciousness is nothing but that Paramatma expressing through that physical form. Therefore, we offer salutations as Namaste. It is not. And Namaste, and to popularize it within our congregation, I keep telling them that Namaste is the most hygiene way of greeting anybody. Somebody sneezes and people have phobia to all these germs, and I got really shocked once that this lady who had come here to understand Hinduism, so I did this, so she kept insisting like this, I kept insisting like this, and finally I had to give in. I shook hand, and after such insistence, she immediately pulls out that hand sanitizer. The best thing is fold your hands. And what does folding hands mean? That I bring the totality of myself into this present moment to offer salutations to that God in you. My pranams, my salutations. If that attitude is developed, will there be any jealousy, any kind of competition with the world outside? Because 80 to 90% of our crookedness starts with comparing, competition and feeling jealous. Rest of the things start in a domino effect after that. If there is nobody to compete, it is my own God in that form. Sometimes I feel really sorry for God in that form. Oh God, you have to take this form, this kind of form also. Well, if you don't mind it, I don't mind it either. If God doesn't mind expressing in that form, who am I to say whether he is to express in that form or not? Jagata Ishadhi Yukta Sevanam Ashtamurti Bhrit Deva Pujanam. Constantly when you interact, when you work in daytime, once or twice at least you will see the sun. Unless you are a college going student in US. Their day starts at night. I mean, yesterday I had work a lot. So when did you sleep? 2:30, 3 o'clock. What did you do the whole day? Stuff. When they don't want to answer, the answer that they give is stuff. I said it is very tough to understand your stuff. Can you describe it? Can we move to a next topic? You will see sun sometimes. So when you see that sun, think of the Lord. When you see the moon, think of that Lord. In fact, when you become so conscious that every breath you become conscious, try it as your one day task. To be conscious of every single breath that you take in your waking time. I am not asking you to sit down and what are you doing? Busy breathing. I am not talking about that level of stupidity. What I am saying is, whatever you are working, be conscious of that breath. If you can learn the art to tune yourself to that breath, you are in the present moment. You are in the now. Try it once at least. If it clicks, then you are there. You have the tool to be there. How many times do you drink water? Many of you carry water bottles like a baby. Right? Because whenever I think of a water bottle, I think of Muki only. I have never ever seen him without a water bottle. And constantly sipping. Every time you sip, think of the Lord as that water. And not to needless to say, how much time do you spend in shower? Is there anybody who gets out in 3 minutes? You do? Okay. I have observed people that they go into shower to 40 minutes, 30 minutes. So when that water is Sahasra Sirsha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat, do you remember it? No, don't start it. I am terrified asking that question. Think of that Lord. Expand your horizon from that idol worship to expand your mindset to see that Lord in and through all these elements. Therefore, when we take shower, there is a mantra. When we eat food, there is a mantra. Every aspect of life is worship worthy. Yukta Sevanam. Any questions so far? 2 shlokas we have covered. Any questions? Yes. All the celestial or the space elements, that which is existing in the space, that is what moon represents. His question was, what does moon represent? It represents all the planets and other what do you call them? Satellites around the planets. The moon represents all of them. Sun represents the stars and the constellations. It should not be, I mean, his question was, when doing japa, you rotate the mala, and that rotation of the mala seems to be taking my mind off of God. I am glad you asked that question, because the 6th shloka, it talks about japa. Why it has to be chanted out loud, why it has to be done with the japa mala, those things will be answered in the 6th shloka, which we are not doing today. It's only 8:30. What? Oh, you have? Oh, group texting. Who is it? It is so difficult to see God or divinity in some individuals. How do we overcome this obstacle? First, start with those who are not such a challenge. First step. Second, even those who have such, I mean, our assumption of they being obnoxious or very hard to deal with, if you look in closely, they also have some positive in them. always remember, did SRKG not pull out good traits in each one of us and highlight it for us? If he could do it to us, can't we do it to the rest of the world? It's your focal point that has to change from seeing that negative. They may be constantly disturbing, distracting, creating restlessness, but one has to grow out of it. They will not change, but we can change. What was Akhil's question? This is a very simple question, Manoj. How can we keep constantly focus on God when mind has to engage in the chores that we are involved in? Before you start and after you finish, spend a moment to think of God and then move forward. Like when we start with Om. When we end it with Shanti Patha. Whatever activity you do, like yes, last week also we covered the same point, that when you say driving a car, whoever Om Sri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha and start. Remember the example that you don't need to take a coconut and stand in front of the then fold. Don't need to do overboard, but just think of the Lord and move forward. And once you are done, Lord, thank you, and then get out of the car or whatever you are doing. Next. What? Who asked this? Akhil. How does one prepare akshatas for the puja? Akshata is unbroken grain of rice, uncooked rice. There will be another question, cooked or uncooked? So uncooked rice, and it is a whole grain, not broken, and such grain is taken. Usually people, what they do is, for a temporary use, they add they sprinkle little water and add turmeric in. But the moment you add water, akshata becomes kshata. Because of the sapidity, it breaks and it is not advised. Therefore, add few drops of ghee. Having added few drops of ghee, just few, no, don't grease it too much, little few drops of ghee, and add the turmeric and very little, and then mix it thoroughly. That way you make the akshata. That was for you, Akhil. Done? Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.